Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man, at your services. How are you all? Welcome to Kilty's Tavern. The bar is open. But at the moment, Kilty is just having a nice cup of tea. Why? Why, Kilty, are you at your own bar and you're not drinking whiskey? Come on, Kilty, what's wrong with you? What's happening? Have you been possessed by some kind of pod person from beyond the outer realms? No. I've been up all night. I've been enjoying and savouring, steady on now, phase 1 of Kilty's Horror Festival for Halloween 2020. Now, last night was only Thursday night. Halloween is still tomorrow night. So I've still got all of today, Friday, and all of tomorrow to go through. So phase 1 of my horror festival. Come on, guys. We're all doing it. We're all watching horror movies. If you're follow my channel, then of course you're watching horror movies. Well, you're looking at me for one thing. Don't come much more horrific than that. Your good health. So, what did I watch last night? Well, I'll show you in a minute. But first of all, A, I'm completely knackered. B, what a stupid idea that really is. You know when you're a kid, I'm going to stay up all night and I'm going to watch horror movies, or you're going to stay up all night drinking, or you're going to stay up all night gambling, or you're going to stay up all night doing other things. Always seems like a really clever idea. And when you're younger and you don't really need your sleep, yeah, that's great. Oh, I am re-jiggered right now. Oh my God. And the thing is, this is like 8:30. No, it's 8 o'clock actually on Friday morning. I'm not working today. Hurrah! So I can spend all day indulging in the things we know and love. And but there is stuff happening today. I am going somewhere. And there's an arrival today. There's another mask arriving just in time for Halloween. Ooh, yeah. You guys are going to see it. But yeah, it always seems like a good idea to do this sort of thing. I'm going to stay up all night, yeah. And in the wee small hours, you get like you flag a little bit, and then you begin to pick up again, and then you're zany. Breakfast time, you're like, wow, on top of the world. But I can tell you now, as soon as I stop recording this, I'm just going to go, and I'll be gone. I'll be dead to the world. But what did I watch last night then? Well, if you saw my previous video, you'll know that I watched the 2013 remake of Evil Dead. And so I reviewed that and covered that already. But what else did I watch? I'll try and put them in order actually. Well, there's the Evil Dead anyway, so we did that. Let's get this the right way around. I think this was the order. They're all blaring into one now. First of all, I started off with a film which sounds like a horror film, but really isn't. And it's from the 60s, and it's Circus of Horrors with Anton Diffring. The great Anton Diffring, German actor. Pure Aryan blue eyes, blonde hair, very Teutonic sort of face. Spent most of his life living in England, obviously, and then made many, many, many movies. A lot of horror films, a lot of obviously playing German officers in wartime movies as well. Don't know how he got those roles, but and this, as I say, it's not really a horror film. It's a macabre melodrama. He plays Dr. Rossiter. He was a plastic surgeon, but after a botched job on some wealthy socialite, and because he's using revolutionary new methods, and him and his two accomplices, played by Kenneth Griffiths and, I forgot the girl's name. Can't remember. They flee the country, and he has a car accident whilst trying to escape, and then under his instruction, his two associates actually reconstruct his face, and they go off to France, whereupon they meet Donald Pleasance, who runs an offshoot of Billy Smart Circus. It actually is Billy Smart Circus. And they repair the scars on his daughter's face. And in a roguish accident with a man in a bear suit, it's meant to be their dancing bear. An element I do not like about the film is that they do show the bear with the mask on its face, and it clearly is a performing bear, and we know how badly they were treated, especially in those days. And so that's a sour note. But anyway, it's a man in a bear suit that kills the drunken Donald Pleasance, who's great in it. For all the brief scenes he's in, he's marvellous. But he has signed over the circus to Anton Diffring's Dr. Rossiter, who is now under the alias of Dr. Schuler. And he's had his face reconstructed himself, although it kind of looked that differently. All they've done is just taken off the fake beard he was wearing and moustache that he had at the start of the movie. But his grand scheme, which is really stupid when you think of it, is that he's going to hide away, because obviously the authorities want him back in England, and he's fled to France in this circus. His master plan, now get on this is his plan, is that he's going to enlist criminals and fiends who need surgery, and he's going to work on their faces on the sly, and because they owe him, he'll have pictures before and after so he can be identified. And to make them keep quiet, he's got that on them, so they'll work with him and build the circus up to be a big success. He's a plastic surgeon. What does he know about circuses? And what do all these criminals he picks up off the streets, scarred hookers and prostitutes and druggies and all that, like, they've got to go and learn how to swallow swords and walk the tightrope, become clowns. It's kind of stupid, and because they're all hiding out behind the enclave, the masquerade, the charade of a circus. But whenever someone who he's fixed up wants to leave, usually it's a woman, a beautiful woman. They may not have started off as being beautiful, but they are now under his delicate hands and skillful, plastic surgery techniques. All in like a caravan at the back of the circus. Very sterile, that, isn't it? But if they want to leave, he arranges for accidents to befall them, literally befall them in some cases. And they get a reputation travelling around for being the jinxed circus. But so we've got masked people, all the audience under the big top, watching people plummet to their deaths, or on a spinning wheel have the fake Cherokee Indian throwing knives straight through the throat when a little power cable is pulled and the wheel stops turning, or a mistake with the rope drops someone cascading to the floor, and it's stupid. It's totally stupid. As if anyone could get away with that. They just couldn't do it. But I love the film because Anton Diffring owns it. He's marvellous. That clipped Germanic speech pattern of his. How the hell was he Dr. Rossiter to begin with, and then he becomes Dr. Schuler? He was German to begin with as well, But and you've got Yvonne Romain, last seen in Curse of the Werewolf, playing Oliver Reed's mother. She dies giving birth to her little baby lycanthrope, and she is eminently gorgeous in it. All the women are gorgeous, and he puts the moves on all of them as well. Like it's terrible, He's a right seedy bastard, but I'm very opportunist, obviously. But he has this thrall, this power over all these people. But they all seem to want to leave at some point. The English authorities do get onto this, and they send in what's his name? Is it Jack Gwilym, who poses as a journalist from a tabloid to investigate the jinxed circus, and he begins to interrogate, on the sly, all the performing artists, all the beautiful women, and he ends up snogging the face off all of them as well. So you've got Anton Diffring shagging around, you've got this guy, the good guy, shagging around. Obviously, it all culminates in a big chase sequence. He gets uncovered, and there's a man in a gorilla suit as well, which doesn't like Anton Diffring, Dr. Schuler, at all. So it gets him through the bars and rips his face up like his face was ripped up to begin with. So he spends the last act of the movie with his vicious rips and gouges down his own face. A bit of poetic justice there, you could say. But I love it. There's something about circuses, isn't there? Circuses are genuinely creepy, eerie places. All these people who masquerade in the makeup and costumes and perform kind of quirky, weird things anyway. Knife throwers, sword swallowers, people with sticks of fire and tightrope walkers, trapeze, clowns. Need I say any more? And what happens, when the show's over and they all go back to their little trailers and caravans, what plotting and scheming, it's crazy. But it's a great melodrama. Do not mistake it for a horror film. It really isn't a horror film. It has elements of the macabre and the ghoulish in there, but it's not a horror film. What was next? I hear you ask. It was Cat People, Jacques Tourneur and the Val Lewton produced Cat People, which was their antidote to The Wolfman from Universal for RKO Studios. And it tells the story of Irina, the gorgeous Simone Simon, who is a Serbian werecat, cursed as our people are, that when they consummate an act of love, the old in out, she'll turn into a panther and she'll kill her lover. So she gets married, but she still will not give in to this guy because she knows what will happen. And I don't need to say any more about the film because it's an absolute unparalleled masterpiece of style, noir, suspense. It suggests, it hints as to what's taking place, that the woman is transforming. The famous sequence in the zoo, the New York Zoo, where Alice is walking and she knows she's being pursued, and you see the shadow and you hear the snarling of a big cat, and then at the last moment, just when she gets to the end of the block, a bus pulls up in front of it. It's pistons and steam, brakes, hisses like a cat, and we all jump out of our skin. Likewise, the sequence in the swimming pool as well. Eerie shadows, and she knows she's being pursued again. The film plays with sex and sexual politics, and it's very, very advanced for its time, early 40s. Because not only have you got a hint of lesbianism with another Serbian woman, or another werecat at least, spots Irina in a bar at one stage, and there's a definite frisson there because she knows what's going on. And the fact that you've got a frustrated husband, you've got a psychiatrist who was actually in The Wolfman as well, and he under the guise of looking after Irina, he's putting the moves on her. So you're talking completely like, people abusing their positions of power. Then you've got the whole sexual politics of, can a man be friends with a woman without sex rearing its ugly head? Because the girl he works with, who does love him as well, those two form, a sort of little team because they know Irina's something wrong with Irina, but they want to help her. But Irina is then jealous of Alice because she's putting the moves, or so she thinks, on her man, the man that she can't have anyway. So it's like, what's going on? It's all skewed and very, very dark and twisted. It's a great dreamlike fable, but it's got all these socio-political and sexual, subtexts and allegories, and it's wonderfully thought out, beautifully constructed, and it did spawn a sequel called Curse of the Cat People, which does retain some of the cast, and most notably Simone Simon herself, who plays the ghost of Irina in a vastly different role. And it's a different sort of movie where she's a good guy. But yeah, so that was, I like to mix things up. I like to go through the decades with my little horrorthons and see how, mix things up a bit, change the mood. Then you go on to a bit of splatter, then you go on to a new film, then you go on to a vintage film, then you go on to maybe a silent movie, then you go on to, I don't know, you just mix it all up. What was next? We moved ahead in time. John Carpenter came into the festival with In the Mouth of Madness. I fucking love this movie. This was Carpenter's little sort of Lovecraftian ode, and a pastiche on the success of Stephen King with his writer played by another German actor, Jürgen Prochnow, from The Keep and Das Boot, and he is Sutter Kane. Do you read Sutter Kane? Who is this demigod of horror literature who, his power is in his words, or his words are his power. That Stephen King tagline thing. And Carpenter wanted to do this film because he was getting loads of stick off censors, and people saying like, your films are creating violence, it's inciting violence in people, and the age-old argument is like, no, art does not, change people's perceptions and make them do bad things. Art just reflects what's happening. Just a picture, a painting, a book, a film isn't gonna make someone go out there and kill somebody else. It doesn't work like that. But in this film, Sutter Kane's writings are making people go mad. They are becoming brainwashed and becoming his people, and he's gradually breaking reality and changing. He's inverting the world in a very Lovecraftian sort of style. And you have Lovecraftian monsters and a little Lovecraftian village and lots of surrealism. And Sam Neill, the great Sam Neill as well, plays this insurance detective. He's got to go and fight. Charlton Heston, the publisher, employs, I think his name's Sam Trent. My mate, I'm half asleep and working on fucking just, testosterone and adrenaline at the moment. and the meagre amount of caffeine that is in tea. Yeah, I'm sure it's Sam Trent's his name, this insurance investigator. And he goes out to find where Sutter Kane is, because he's gone missing on the eve of the publication of his new book. So we know what's going on. And that book's called In the Mouth of Madness. And this one is gonna literally turn the world upon itself. And it's wonderful. It's full of creature effects from KNB. And I remember there was a great, although slightly unforgiving, critique of the movie when it came out. Someone, I think it was a UK film reviewer, said, it's got special effects that would shame the inside of a cornflakes packet. Remember the little toys you got in cornflakes? And I was like, oh, that's a bit unfair. They are a bit rubbery, but Carpenter uses them wisely, keeps them in shadows. But they're great, and it's a real fun movie with a really otherworldly vibe to it. It's not too outrageous. It's kind of, that's what I would term as cozy horror. You're not seeing rape and molestation and cannibalism. We're not talking Texas Chainsaw. We're not talking Last House on the Left. We're not talking a shocker, a controversial shocker. Even though it's tackling a controversial sort of theme, does art bleed into reality? And Carpenter actually brilliantly. Well, I'm going to go with what you've been accusing me of doing. I'm going to make a film which literally does do what you're saying. It's brilliant. I love it. And Sam Neill owns the movie. Jürgen Prochnow is great with his mad curly hair as well. But it is a wonderful, wonderful movie. We stuck in the same sort of time period and the same sort of rubbery effects with Pumpkinhead. Yes, I have reviewed that before. I know I have, and that's got Lance Henriksen. He's a single father out in the rural America somewhere, like prairie lands, meadows, swamps, and kids on dirt bikes manage to accidentally kill his little boy. So he then goes off to the hag witch in the bayou, and he says, I want revenge. So she births Pumpkinhead, the demon of vengeance, to go out and get revenge on these kids, and it'll pick them off one by one. But what he didn't bargain on was he'll have a spiritual connection with this demon, so he'll see and feel what it does, its thirst for revenge, and it'll experience him, the beast, killing these kids. And of course, no, it's not what I want. You wanted revenge, didn't you? Not like this. It's a great film. It's one of those films where you wish there was more the monster. Well, not more the monster, but more killings and a bit gory. It's a bit tame when it comes to the actual slayings, I always find. But the monster is fantastic. I've reviewed the film, and I've got the mask for the big pumpkin head beast itself, which is tremendous. So look back if you want more information on that one. But I loves it, I does. I'll be honest, after that one, I was flagging good style. I was like, in the chair, and I could hear Mrs. Kilt-Man upstairs. Where are you? Come to bed. Come to bed. She wasn't talking to me, obviously, because for me, she's like, stay down there. I don't want to see you tonight. You stink of whiskey. What did I plump for next? Well, actually, we stayed in the 80s, believe it or not, and we came up with... Well, I ended on a shocking note. But again, for me, it's kind of cozy. It's not like Last House on the Left, which is a film I despise with a vengeance, because I just do not like torture porn and sexual violence, especially when the film's all about that. My problem with that film is that they've protracted multiple rapes of the victim. It's like 3/4 of the movie. Her revenge spree is nothing. Oh, hang on, that's I Spit on Your Grave. So that's another one which I can't stand. I Spit on Your Grave for the exact same reasons. It's all the abuse of the victim and then a tiny bit of vengeance, which is not fulfilling enough. Last House on the Left, again, it is rape and abuse and horrible, horrible stuff. But the revenge, apart from that nightmare sequence where Weasel, Wes Craven directed it, who go on to do Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously a film about nightmares and dreams and how they infiltrate our reality and bend space and time around us. Well, Weasel, one of the gang of rapists and murderers, he's got these big buck teeth, hence why he's called Weasel. And he has this dream, because they end up in the house of the two girls, and their parents discover the bloodied clothing of their kids. So they exact their revenge when they realise what's been done. And they use a chainsaw as well, but again, you don't see it, that's the thing. But in this dream sequence, Weasel kind of fancies the mother as well, like, but he ends up in the dream with his big buck teeth getting smashed out with a hammer and chisel. And it's a nightmare sequence, and the editing is brilliant. By the way, folks, I've only seen the film once when I was a gore-soaked, kid, just lapping up every bit of video nasty mayhem that I could get my hands on, and I got them all. And I do actually have Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave upstairs. And it's kind of childish because I must have them as part of the collection. They're important. They're landmark movies, but I'll never watch them again. And to this day, I never have watched them again. And in fact, the only versions I got are the original Betamax and VHS copies. I don't have them on any remastered 4K fucking transfers, because they're not fucking worth it. They look shit anyway. They're really gritty, grainy. You can't transfer that to ultra high definition and make it look any better. Fuck off! Don't tell me that. But they're up there anyway. But you can tell from the editing and the sheer look of that sequence that Wes Craven was honing his craft as a master of shock scenes and stark, abrupt, emphatic, forceful, powerful imagery with that hammer and oh, you're like, oh my god. Anyway, but I didn't watch Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave. I watched little Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. That, I think, is his best movie. I may prefer Zombie Flesh Eaters, as I've said many, many times, and I've covered little Lucio many, many times on the channel, and I've written about him extensively as well, and I do love his stuff. And by the way, Daniela Cormio, if you're watching, I still love you, hon, still love you, and thanks for letting me do that feature on you. But The Beyond, and again, you're talking a touch of Lovecraft and Poe and Gothic horror. The Book of Ibon opens up the portals of hell, and this old hotel in New Orleans, Catriona MacColl, David Warbeck, zombies, pipe cleaner tarantulas stripping the flesh off some poor librarian and pull his eyeball out and pull his tongue out and bite through his tongue in close-up. What the hell? The poor warlock at the start in that sepia-tinted prologue with all the torch-wielding villagers, a hark back to Universal and to Hammer, cross the swamps and find him. They beat the shit out of him, they chain whip him, they crucify him to a wall in loving close-up and then pour acid over him. But it's him returning to wreak havoc when the Book of Ibon is read aloud, And it's great chaotic fun. It doesn't make one iota of sense. But then again, Fulci in his best movies, his best nightmarish films, didn't make any sense. Linear narrative was not his forte. What he does in his pivotal supernatural zombie movies, Flesh Eaters, The Beyond, City of Living Dead, House by the Cemetery, they defy narrative logic in favour of a nightmarish course of events. For 90 minutes you are wrapped up in this swirling, ghoulish, gothic, bloodthirsty, ruthless world where literally anything can happen, and the endings don't make any sense. But the ending of this one, David Warbeck, Catriona MacColl have fought their way through hordes of the undead, which are rising up everywhere. And by some Lovecraftian geometry, the hospital which David Warbeck worked in is linked via the basement to the hotel, which is miles and miles away. How did that happen? And then eventually they're forced out into the Beyond, which depicts what you've seen in a painting of this blighted, arid, chalk white wasteland full of desiccated corpses and just blackness in the distance. And they run out into this and realise, shit, we're in this painting. They try to run back, but there's nowhere to run back to. They are now lost in this horrible limbo wilderness of the dead, and their eyes have turned over white. And it's just splendid. It's imagery and style and just real bravura gore. What's not to love, folks? So that was phase one of Kilt-Man's Horrorthon. Today, not sure, haven't lined it up yet, but I know what's going to be in it at some point will be this. Bit of shakiness there. There's a tremor. I could watch Tremors, couldn't I? Drag Me to Hell. Love this. Again, it makes you jump out your skin. It's got a great story. The effects are wonderful. The music by Christopher Young is outstanding. I love the score for this. And it's not too sinister. It's not too nasty. There's me. I've just watched one of the nasties, profound video nasty, The Beyond. But this is a lot tamer. But it still makes you jump out your skin. It's still blood-curdling fun. It's another curse. There's lots of stuff going in there. And there's some socio sort of political scheming as well. Moralistic, what do you do? Anyway, I love this. So this may be in today's Horrorthon. And I don't think I've actually covered this movie on the channel, so I may well do a full review of that. I don't know. I may just sleep all day, forget about the whole fucking thing. But Halloween itself, now on that night, again, it's the same sort of run-up. There's things from the past, things, modern stuff, but it tends to be, again, nothing too outrageous, but the classics. Certainly between now and the end of Halloween, I'll be doing The Exorcist 3, which I love, and I'll probably cover that as well. Suspiria, an all-time favourite of mine. American Werewolf, of course, will be in there. A Myers movie, whether it's Halloween 1 or Halloween 2, I don't know. Maybe even the two. I genuinely don't know. Evil Dead 2 will be in there. Poltergeist will be in there. And The Shining will be in there as well. So, folks, I mean, these things, they're perennials then. But I always throw a few little renegade ones in, you know, a few curveballs. I sort of just go along the shelves, and of course I've got movies amassed in several rooms, and which could take a while. Oh, Porkies. Oh. And just pick at random. And obviously I'll go, well, no, I won't. But hopefully I'll be like, oh, yeah, I haven't thought about that for years. Yeah, okay. And it goes into the run-up. So, folks, sorry, I am literally rubbing my eyes now because I've been awake for a long, long time. So, let me know what you're watching. Just, if you're throwing together your own little private horror festival, brilliant. If you're just picking one film a night, or you're just saving yourself for the big night and watching one thing, and it's Halloween. Let me know. I've given you a few ideas there of stuff that you know, maybe you've overlooked, forgotten about, or just never seen. And I've given the endings away to most of them as well. But you know what I'm like. So today there'll be another video or two at least, because there's a mask arriving. Oh yes! FedEx. I'm looking out the window now. No, hasn't arrived yet. So guys, in the meantime, and this lovely ghoulish macabre in between time, please be happy, please stay healthy, be cool, and just be yourselves and have fun, y'all. So keep it kilted, keep it Celtic, and we're gonna see y'all later.
Hey Lonnie, get your ass away from there.